From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Well, good morning, everyone. Back in the studio after a few days off for Rosh Hashanah. It's been great to take some time away from being a practitioner for a few days. I really did unplug and enjoyed some time with the family. It's great to be back in the studio because a lot's been going on. We're going to get into all of that on this morning's episode, Wednesday, September 28th, 2022. Welcome back to the show, everyone. We're going to get right into this morning's episode. But before we do that, my trusty being back in the studio is amazing because I have my espresso machine, which means I can join y'all in our morning cup of Joe. This is my double espresso. Whatever you're drinking this morning, I hope you enjoy it. I hope it powers you through the rest of this week. Coffee cup, cheers. Good foam. All right, let's get into today's show and news. CyberHubPodcast.com, where you can find all the latest content. Chrome 106 patches several high-severity vulnerabilities. The release of Chrome 106 has now been out. It patches 20 vulnerabilities, including 16 reported by external researchers. Half of those vulnerabilities are used after free bugs, which could lead to arbitrary code execution, denial of service, or data corruption. Those have all been improved. 5 high-severity issues that Chrome 106 resolves. 4 are used after free vulnerabilities impacting 3 browser components, namely CSS, survey, and media. The 5th is an insufficient validation of untrusted input in the developer tools. All of those have been taken care of. Make sure you update your Chrome browser. A critical WhatsApp bug could have let attackers hack devices remotely. This is a new update to the popular messaging app. It addresses 2 flaws in both Android and iOS that could lead to remote code execution on vulnerable devices. One of them is CVE 2022-369-34, a CVSS score of 9 or 0.8, which is a critical integer overflow vulnerability in WhatsApp that results in the execution of arbitrary code simply by establishing a video call. The issue impacts the WhatsApp and WhatsApp business for Android and iOS prior to versions 22.22.16.12. Also patched by the Meta-owned messaging platform is the integer underflow bug, which refers to an opposite category of errors that occur when the result of an operation is too small for storing the value within the allocated memory space. This high-severity issue was given the CVE 2022-274-902 CVSS score of 7.8, affects WhatsApp for Android prior to versions 2.22.16.2 and iOS 2.22.15.9. All of those are there. Make sure you update your WhatsApp browser. Microsoft SQL servers were hacked in a TargetCompany ransomware attack. The vulnerable SQL servers are being targeted in a new wave of attack with Fargo ransomware, according to researchers. The SQL servers are database management systems holding data for internet services and apps. Disrupting them could cause severe business trouble. Bleeping Computer did report something similar in February. We actually talked about it back then if you go to those shows. Drop in Cobalt strike beacons in July when threat actors hijacked vulnerable SQL servers to steal bandwidth for proxy services. The Fargo ransomware, aka known as TargetCompany, is one of the most prominent ransomware strains that focus on SQL servers, along with Globe Imposter. The malware family has been referred to as mallocs in the past because it used to append the .malloc extension to the files it encrypted. So we see that there. The researchers know that the ransomware infection starts with the Microsoft SQL process on the compromised machines, downloading a .NET file using cmd.exe and PowerShell.exe. The payload fetches additional malware, generates and runs BAT files that terminate specific processes and services. So now we're seeing that they've changed it to Fargo 3. That's the extension there. The recommendation for SQL Server administrators is to make sure that they use strong enough and unique passwords. Additionally, keeping the machines up to date with the latest fixes for security vulnerabilities is advice that never gets out of fashion. Hackers are using PowerPoint to also a PowerPoint Mouseover trick to infect systems with malware. A Russian state-sponsored threat actor known as APT28 has been found leveraging a new code execution method that makes use of mouse movement and decoy Microsoft PowerPoint documents to deploy malware. The technique is designed to be triggered when the user starts the presentation mode and moves the mouse. The code execution runs a PowerShell script that downloads and executes a dropper from OneDrive. The dropper, a seemingly harmless image, functions as a pathway for a follow-up payload, a variant of a malware known as Graphite, which uses the Microsoft Graph API and OneDrive for command and control communications for retrieving additional payload. The attack employs a Lure document that makes use of templates potentially linked to the Organizations for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, a Paris-based intergovernment agency. Cluster 25 notes the attack may be ongoing, considering the URLs used in the attack appear active in August and September, although the hackers have previously laid the groundwork for campaigns between January and February as well. So this is not the first time we've seen this type of stuff, but it's definitely almost there. Australian police and this Optus breach started Thursday last week. We didn't get a chance to cover it. I obviously went away. So kind of giving y'all the complete rundown here. So Australia police are investigating a threat actor with stolen personal data of about 10,000 Optus customers and a demand for $1 million in ransomware, in ransom payment in crypto, according to the telecom company, which is one of the largest telecom companies in Australia. They've got a personal data of 9.8 million current and former Optus customers. They're wanting to sell that data accordingly. Australian Federal Police said Monday their investigations were working with overseas agencies, including the FBI, to determine who was behind the attack and shield the public from identity fraud. Optus Data sent Kirk a link to a new post that withdrew the ransom demand, claimed the stolen data had been deleted, and apologized to Optus as well as its customers. I don't know how real that is, right? No one goes in, asks for $1 million, and then says a ransom, and then goes, I'm not, you know what, I'm changing my mind here. That kind of leads to some of the fallout here, where Australia, who actually has a cybersecurity minister, criticized the country's second largest telecom company in its response to what it called the unprecedented theft of consumer information. The Claire O'Neill, which is the Minister of Home Affairs and Cybersecurity, appeared on ABC 730 on Monday to discuss the breach of Optus, which announced on Thursday that it was investigating the possible unauthorized access of current and former customers. The hack involved the theft of basic PII related to 9.8 million Australians. More alarming, it also included extensive personal data like license numbers and passport numbers from 2.8 million people. Australia's population is around 25 million, so you can understand the impact of this one. Very similar to Equifax, FYI, if you take it in scale. The data taken said effectively amounts to 100 points of ID check, making the scope for identity theft and fraud quite significant, in particular for those 2.8 million Australians. The minister went on to dispute Optus's characterization of the attack as advanced, calling it quite a basic hack. According to the incident, they gained access through an unauthenticated API endpoint. The hacker said it was a bad access control, noting it was connected to the internet for anyone to use. We should not have telecom providers in this country which have effectively left the window open for data of this nature to be stolen. This is coming from the cybersecurity minister. Obviously, if this is the case and all the forensics and all the facts prove this, the minister's correct. However, as cybersecurity minister, you want to build private-public partnerships, and calling out a victim of a crime, whether they left the door unlocked or not, is never a good look if you're trying to encourage trust between companies and government, which is needed in cybersecurity, Minister O'Neill, desperately needed. And it's not about the steps you're taking. You're trying to politicize this, and cybersecurity doesn't need to be politicized. It needs to be addressed as a national security issue. And I wish more would pay attention to this. But obviously, they're going to look at this. They're going to try to make an example out of Optus in Australia, and we'll see where the everything falls here after all the forensics. Folks, that's it for our show today. We'll be back with a whole lot more tomorrow to wrap up this week. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and most importantly, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.